In this video, I will be trying to survive 100 days in hardcore modded Minecraft whilst my friend hunts me down. I have to survive the full 100 days without dying once to be crowned the winner. In this mod pack, guns, helicopters, missiles, and many more weapons are all craftable, and instead of using a tracker, we are using a smaller map so that Barry has to find me legitimately. Me and Barry also decided on a 30-minute head start for me, so I could actually get going and not die on the first day. If you want to watch Barry's POV, it will be top link in the description, and 300 likes on this video and we will do a part 2. Also, 85% of you guys who watch my videos aren't subscribed, so please subscribe because it actually means a lot. And yeah, let's jump straight into the video. Just like on a regular Minecraft world, the first thing you have to do is gather wood for tools. I then saw my first bandit who was actually carrying a pretty decent gun. Once I was far enough away from the bandit, I placed my crafting table down and crafted my tools. Once I had got my sword, I killed enough pigs so that I could get enough food to get to the other side of the map. I was then shot by a bandit who almost killed me, but luckily I managed to get into my own little cove and stay safe. I used this time to cook all of my food that I had previously gotten, and used this to get myself back up to full health. I then checked to see if the bandit had left, but to nobody's surprise, it was still there. I then decided that the best thing I could do was to mine as far away as possible and dig up and make a run for it. I then spotted a radio tower, which was a naturally generated structure that was included in the mod pack. I then realized that the blocks that the radio tower was made of were actually steel blocks, which meant that we could use the steel to make guns. I then found another generated structure which contained even more steel and an incredible amount of supplies. I looted all of the crates and took as much of the steel as I could so that Barry would be slowed down even further when he spawned in. Whilst running to the third and final radio tower, I was attacked by two bandits. I then dug down and opened the roof to make the bandits both fall in so I could trap them and kill them. From killing the two bandits, I actually received 2 gas grenades and a pistol, which meant that I could now shoot mobs from a distance and also use the gas to potentially kill Barry. I then found a nuclear machine workshop, but most of this stuff was not going to be very useful, so I decided to leave most of it. I then opened the final chest, which actually contained 3 grenades, a rocket launcher, and ammo, which was incredible and would actually help me out quite a lot if I needed to fight Barry. And now Barry was finally on the server, which meant he was now going to be on the hunt and starting to look for me and chase me. This meant that I had to be prepared, so I decided to make my first gun, which was going to be a shotgun, so I could easily sneak up on him and deal any damage if I was close enough to him. Whilst out exploring, a meteor actually blew up very close to me and scared the living daylight out of me. I then found an abandoned factory and made sure there was no traps in there before entering. I then looted everything in the factory and took all of the machines home so that I could use them and keep them in my base. Once I had made my little hidey hole and placed all of my machines down, I decided to get all of the iron that I had looted from the factory and use it to craft an armor set. I then used the remaining iron to actually craft a helicopter, which was going to be my transport around the map and hopefully my escape plan. I then started to kill as many sheep as I could so that I would eventually be able to craft Spetsnaz armor so I could be even more protected than before. The next part of crafting my Spetsnaz was to actually get as much string as possible so that I could use it to make cloth, so I decided to remove all of the cobwebs from the top of the factory and use that to make string. Quite a lengthy mining session meant that I was actually able to get the titanium and the iron that I needed to make the armor. After this, I actually left the mine and went up to the surface to find some more sheep and use the final resources to actually craft the armor. Now that all of the crafting was done for the near future, I decided it was time for me to get experience flying and make sure that I was ready for a gunfight if I needed to be. I then refueled my helicopter and decided I was going to look for a more open location so that I wouldn't accidentally blow up my helicopter as soon as I took off. Once I had gathered more materials for bullets and had found a better location to take my helicopter off, I decided to go for a test flight. Now that I knew I could confidently fly, I decided to go hunting for Barry's base, because I am fairly confident he would have set up an outpost by now because I saw him get the breeding enchant, so I was hoping that I would be able to find it and potentially scope it out and kill his animals. This ended up leading me back to the radio tower to mine the steel so that I could make a ranged weapon so I could pick off his animals from a long distance. And finally, once my gun was made, we were completely ready to take out Barry and hopefully do some serious damage and slow him down so that he would not be able to catch up with me and potentially kill me. Another full day passed whilst looking for Barry and hoping that I could do some sort of damage to him, but luckily I managed to find a secret bunker on the way. After exploring the bunker, I actually walked away with even more ammo for my rocket launcher. And finally, on day 10, I caught a glimpse of a base located on top of a hill, which had to be Barry's. Barry's armor actually seemed way too weak for what it should have been, so I thought that he may have set up a trap and it may have been a ploy to kill me, so I decided to stay at a range and snipe off all of his animals from where I was. Once I had killed Barry's first sheep, he actually flew away, which made zero sense, so I decided to stay, kill the rest of his sheep, and wait for him to come back to see what he had planned. And not long after, Barry actually returned. However, he did not get out of his helicopter, so I tried to lure him out of it. After I completely lasered him up, Barry actually ran into the forest, so I decided not to chase him just in case he had any bear traps or any other traps that he might have set in the forest. Once I had escaped the fight, I decided I was going to find a location to make a secret base so that I could have a defensible location ready when I need it, and I ended up deciding on a mountain where I terraformed it to make it look like it wasn't there. I then decided to go exploring to find food and also find materials to make bullets so that I could protect myself if Barry found me. Whilst mining for bullet materials, I actually saw Barry in his helicopter and I decided to hide, and I think he may have saw me whilst I was hiding. Because of this, I decided to make a break for my base and also get somewhere defensible in case Barry actually found my base and decided to blow it up or set any traps up. However, just as I arrived at my base, Barry was hovering in front of my base and actually decided to chase me. This could only mean that he had actually found my base and it was now discovered. At this point, it seemed like Barry was waiting for something, and I decided to get in my helicopter and make a break for it. And thank God that I left when I did. I then quickly went home to craft as many bullets as possible and also get ready for the fight that was coming, because I knew that Barry 100% had followed me home and I wanted to be ready for it. Whilst I was crafting, my arm went up, which meant that there was a helicopter nearby, which meant that Barry was onto me. And luckily, after getting the height advantage, I managed to kill Barry and hold him off for at least a few more days before he would be able to return and attempt to kill me again. However, only 2 days later, I heard the rumble of another helicopter, which meant that Barry was back again. I quickly put up a few barricades so that I could get as much time as possible out of this fight, so that I could drag it on for longer and also make it so I can get as many days as possible whilst holding this base. However, Barry was acting really suspicious whilst at my base, and he wasn't actually attacking, he was sitting at a distance and just shooting only a little bit. And everything fell into place when I realized that Barry had actually called in an airstrike, and my entire base got bombed. To make things even more annoying, Barry decided to fly away and also throw a gas grenade, which meant I was also going to be taking damage for the next 5 minutes for no reason. After Barry retreated, I decided to spend the next few days reinforcing my base and making sure it was strong enough to last as long as I needed it to, so that when it finally came to it, I would be able to disappear and Barry would be confused on where I was. Once my base was finished, I decided to make a sniper rifle so that Barry would not be able to be out in the open whilst he was trying to fight me. And one day, as I was coming home from a supply run, I accidentally fell into one of Barry's traps when I didn't realize that he had already infiltrated my base. Luckily, I was able to find shelter next to a hill and use that as cover to actually defend my base. Once Barry had moved as far away from the base as possible, I decided to make my move and move back towards the base so that I could hold it down. At this point, I almost got myself killed because I miscalculated where Barry was, and I also walked out into the gas grenade, which meant I was blinded. When I got back inside of my base, Barry actually started shooting me with a bow, which explains why he did not chase me before. This probably meant that he was out of ammo, and as soon as I realized this, he stole my helicopter and he flew away. As soon as the fight was over, I decided to run as far away as possible and get as far away from Barry as I possibly could. However, somehow Barry had already managed to get all of his supplies back and also managed to find me again and was already chasing me. I needed to get the steel from the structure in the middle of the snow biome, however Barry was on the other side and I had to get in and out as quick as possible. Barry had snuck up on me without me realizing and had actually managed to get the jump on me. However, I managed to fight him off and managed to escape on my helicopter. Once I had escaped, I made sure to go to the outskirts of the map and also gather as much supplies as possible for the upcoming fights. Once I had done that, I made a brand new Spetsnaz set so I would not die during the next fight. Whilst I was at Barry's base trying to steal supplies so I could make my Spetsnaz boots, Barry actually turned up and started shooting at me with his brand new helicopter. After getting a clear shot off on Barry's helicopter, it started to smoke, which meant he was obviously going to go away and fix it with his wrench, so I bought myself a little bit of time. I used this time to try and escape, however Barry was back a lot quicker than expected, which meant I had to stay where I was. When a random opportunity to escape showed itself, I took it and ran as fast as I could. Barry was right on my tail, and because of the guns on his helicopter, I decided to ditch my helicopter and run. As soon as I got away from Barry, I decided to craft an Apache myself and go back and blow his helicopter up. I reloaded my airplane, made sure it was fueled up, and then flew back to where I ditched my plane, hoping he was still going to be there. And on the exact position where I ditched my helicopter, Barry was there with his Apache and I managed to blow it up. I spent my next few days gathering as much resources as possible, as much food, and also making everything I would need so that I would not need my base anymore. This would hopefully be the last time that I actually returned to the base, because this was my protector for the first 40 days, and now I am hoping that I will be able to stay away from Barry and keep clear. I then crafted some small ammo for my small, which I was hopefully going to use to blow Barry up. Whilst I was mining in the ravine, I actually left the ravine and found a helicopter above, which was Barry's, and Barry was not next to the helicopter, which meant he was hiding somewhere nearby. Blew up my helicopter and then ran back to his helicopter before I could get there. Barry started circling overhead and started pouring down bombs on top of my head whilst I was trying to escape. However, it took me ages for me to get anywhere near escaping. Extremely low when I accidentally forgot to reload my sniper rifle, and it almost got me killed. However, I managed to escape, and I was being hunted throughout the night until it finally turned back to morning. I did a bunch of damage to Barry when I hit him 3 times with a shotgun. However, I did not want to chase him as I did not want to end up getting cornered and getting myself killed. I stayed on top of the trees so that I would permanently have the height advantage over Barry, and would also be able to make a quick escape if I needed to. Barry almost killed me yet again when I fell off the trees and got sprayed by his assault rifle. Barry eventually got back to hunting in his helicopter, which meant that I now would easily be able to get out when I needed to. Barry continued to hunt me in his helicopter for a few more minutes until I finally managed to use the tree line to escape. Over the next few days, I ended up getting the materials to get another Apache, and also enough materials so I could have an infinite amount of bullets for the rest of the fight. I then went to the furthest corner of the map where I was going to get materials and hole up for the next couple of days. Whilst making my master plan, I actually found another nuclear warehouse, which I used to get even more supplies and even more steel for more bullets. And I also found an airstrike designator, which was also pretty cool. I then created a plan to fly extremely high above Barry's base, to the point where he would not see me, and then as soon as he lands his plane, I was going to dive bomb and blow up his helicopter. Sadly, however, my plan didn't work and Barry actually saw me before I even moved. Because of this, I decided to use my height advantage to actually get the jump on Barry and deal a lot of damage before he could even get up to me. The improvisation worked perfectly when Barry actually ended up crashing into an ocean. Barry then tried really hard to try and ram into me with his plane and actually take both of us out. However, I actually used my maneuvering skills and my incredible pilot skills to keep away from him. And finally, after a few days of flying around and fighting each other, I actually managed to take out both of Barry's planes, which meant that we now had a massive advantage of traveling around the map. And this is where I made the biggest mistake of the episode so far, when I picked up a uranium fuel tank. I meant to take the rockets, however I accidentally clicked the wrong one, and without realizing, I accidentally picked it up, which gave me radiation sickness. The only way that I would be able to survive is if I went back to the bunker and hoped that there was a decontamination block in there, which would remove the radiation sickness. When I arrived there, I looked around and sadly, there was not a decontamination block, which meant that I was going to in fact die. The only way I could stop this was if I found redstone and actually made a decontamination block myself, which is what I went to do. However, when I went up the ladder, Barry was actually there and he was blocking me off. And it was at this point where I ran out of food and I started to take damage from the nuclear radiation, and I decided that I was going to use a gas grenade to hopefully kill him, and if he tried to push towards me I was going to hold him down with my shotgun, which he didn't actually do. I tried one last push to try and kill Barry, and when I turned the corner he wasn't there. I would like to thank each and every one of you for watching. Hopefully you guys did enjoy this video. If you did, make sure you do subscribe and go and watch Barry's video. It will be on his channel, top link in the description. Hopefully you guys do enjoy, and I will see you in the next one. Peace.